Good evening. Welcome to Law Talk, the show that brings you the law, the Constitution, and the events of the day. And as analyzed by Mark Malachowski and myself, James Barrett. Mark, what kind of subjects do we have tonight?
Well, first we're going to talk about Lisa Page and her testimony. And then we're going to move to Smollett, who walks. And then last, we're going to talk about the Mueller report flop. So that's our three subjects.
Okay, well, why don't we start with Lisa Page? Lisa Page, isn't that the attorney that worked for Charles McCabe? And she was also part of the notorious cabal between the DOJ and the FBI, and part of the whole events that we've been living for effectively now almost 3 years.
Well, wasn't she kind of the Mata Hari, the temptress, the seductress of this whole plot?
Well, actually, funny enough, her secret paramour was actually Peter Strzok, who was, interestingly enough, the FBI agent that interviewed Hillary Clinton on the infamous email gate.
So basically what we have, these two are using top secret government, top secret stuff to conduct an illicit affair. They're both married, right?
They are both married, and interestingly enough, Peter Strzok was married to one of the chief counsels at the SEC Investigations Department. So it's not exactly like he's just like your average guy that goes down to the 7-Eleven. Both him and his wife are top investigators for the government in the Obama empire.
So what happened to all these texts that were going back and forth between Lisa and Strzok?
Well, funny enough, they said about 50,000 of them vanished.
That happens to me all the time.
You know,
yeah,
that's so funny. Yeah. Just when they're asked for all those texts, funny enough, their personal phones are no longer available. The texts have missing.
No, wait a minute. The top secret, most highly classified, most highly protected communication systems in the world.
That's correct.
Somehow 50,000 texts get lost.
Just like that.
Well, that makes sense.
But you know what the good news was? There wasn't any bleach bits. Because under the new Attorney General, remarkably,
they found them.
They found them. But under the prior Attorney General, unfortunately, they weren't found. And funny enough, there's a lot of people resigning between the FBI and the DOJ. It kind of were the same group around the Hillary investigation, and then what led to the Trump investigation.
Well, it's okay. So we have these spies having affairs, and what did she testify? She was testifying before Congress. She was testifying.
Well, that's interesting. She testified in secret, of course. But now, fortunately,
the texts were secret, right?
Okay, this is the interesting part. The texts there was some select texts magically that were released under the Freedom of Information Act.
That were innocuous, yeah.
That said simple things like we hate Trump, he's an idiot.
Right.
And so they let those go to be like the real dynamic text.
Right.
But the other texts were, we need an insurance policy to ensure that after, in the case Trump gets elected, we have to have an insurance policy.
So basically they're plotting the overthrow of the U.S. government.
They're plotting a coup d'etat.
Yeah.
And what's interesting about this, Mark, is these are all done on government devices.
Right.
And what's interesting is there's one text that where Strzok actually said, well, you know, Obama wants to know everything we're involved with.
Right.
And that's kind of a late one that just came out. So we'll have to see where that one goes. But go ahead.
So the thing is, Lisa, you know, for being the Mata Hari of this whole thing, I mean, she's not exactly, you know, a model, you know. I mean, it's just like I don't think Trump probably had an affair with her. You know,
no.
Yeah,
she's no Stormy Daniels.
Yeah, she's no Stormy Daniels,
and she's no Ivanka.
And so, you know, to me, it's kind of like these people are maybe the dozen most powerful people in the world, right?
Well, in these agencies, security agencies.
No, but they appoint presidents, they get rid of presidents, they bump people off. So I mean, but I don't know. I mean, for the elite of the whole planet. For the 20 or 30 people who run our planet, you know, I don't know. I was a little disappointed in their playtime.
Oh, you mean when you saw a mousy woman chewing her sleeves because she was too embarrassed to go out in public?
Here's a person who
after
says
she tried to overthrow the president.
Yeah, here's a person who says, I don't really like what the U.S. did on this election. I'm going to overthrow.
I'm just going to overthrow the election.
I'm going to overthrow the most powerful nation in the whole world.
Why not?
I'm not, it's like
what the heck?
Well,
amongst friends.
But I mean, and then they don't seem like, they don't
and
seem
the interesting part about Lisa, she kind of threw everyone under the bus.
They don't seem that competent.
I will tell you, we're going to have a follow-up on Miss Page because her secret testimony is being released slowly.
Right.
But funny enough, one of the things that did come out, actually, I believe it was just the end of last week, her first release from the secret testimony was that there was a lot of talk in McCabe's office about why
Andy. It was always Andy this and Andy that.
Andy
I wonder who Andy is.
But wait a minute. But here's the thing. There was a lot of talk about why is Hillary Clinton have all her henchwomen hanging around with her while they're interviewing her? And Hillary just said, oh, they're my attorneys. But they were suspects in the entire crime. So effectively, at any police investigation, they'll tell you don't put all the suspects in the room and have them look at each at the same time, asking them all the questions, because they're all going to go, that's not what I understood.
Right.
You can see their eyes going around the table.
No, I think they had 8 people in there, and they were all in on it.
And what's funny is Lisa Page testified that everyone, a lot of people thought that was irregular to begin with. But what's even more irregular, Lisa Page and Peter Strzok got brought onto the Mueller team.
Of course.
They were part of the team until the text came out.
Right.
And in 2017. And that's when Mr. Mueller decides that, you guys are making us look bad. You're making us look bad. One last thing that Strzok told his little paramour on a text is, there's no there. And he said that to her right at the beginning of the Mueller investigation.
Right, sure.
And he said, I'm going to get out of this because there's nothing there. He didn't do anything. He actually has that in writing. Funny enough, no one's reported that part of it. And she magically has said all of this in front of Congress. And it's not just the Republicans she's told this all to. She's told this all to the Democrats on the committee as well, which means every time you see somebody that says there's so much there, they've already heard the testimony of numerous witnesses.
Well, they would just say that Lisa Page misspoke.
Oh, she misspoke.
She misspoke.
But they can't say that James Baker, the chief counsel for Comey,
now, has he been interviewed?
Oh, he's already testified. He threw Comey under the bus because he said that he specifically said they're under the Clinton investigation. She should be indicted.
Right.
She's already done this. These are all espionage. This, and then he was outraged when they allowed during her interview to have her henchwomen there.
Right. Her
and
lawyers.
Her little gang, her little cabal of co-conspirators. And so his testimony is just coming out now too. We're going to do a whole show on this one little area.
Is James Baker going to try to say he wasn't in on this?
No, he's saying he advised Comey against all of this. But what's funny is, here's the best news. This just came out from Lisa Page's testimony. They were planning a special counsel a year ago, long before, almost a year before Comey was even fired. Right. As soon as he was elected, they're already saying we need a special counsel.
Yeah, that's kind of interesting. But I wonder why Rosenstein's still there. I can't figure
out.
Well,
funny enough, he signed the 4th FISA warrant.
Right.
As the acting attorney general.
Yeah, but I can't figure out why.
After Jeff Sessions recused himself in a really brilliant move that started this whole affair for 2 years.
But Rosenstein said he was gonna quit like 5 months ago.
No, he actually did quit.
Right.
He resigned, but they had to carry him over to get Barr going. But here's the thing. Rosenstein has been there because he's worked with Mueller before. He's been with Comey all this time.
They've been working together for 30 years.
30 years. All these guys all work together. It's not like big mystery time.
They cleaned up Whitewater.
Oh, yeah.
They invented the Iraq weapons of mass destruction together. I mean, these guys have been dumbing up documents and coming up with fake things for 30 years. I mean, come on. They've been doing this for a long time.
But you know what? They're all innocent.
Well, yeah, they're all pretty good at what they do.
They are pretty good. But what's interesting is, and I'm only going to throw this in because at the end of today's testimony, the new Attorney General Barr has stated clearly that he's doing an investigation on the whole little kit and caboodle.
Well, obviously Barr's working for the Russians.
Okay, so listen, why don't we move on to our second subject, and it must be collusion. What's our next subject, Mark?
Okay, well, this is Smollett Walks, and so...
Wait a minute, Smollett Walks?
Yeah.
Wait a minute. This isn't the Empire actor that had the noose around his neck,
Well, this is Jussie Smollett, and it's kind of interesting that what Jussie Smollett did was he got attacked by Trump supporters, and he said they tried to lynch him, and they said this is MAGA country. And so basically what his posit was, or what Jussie is saying here, is that 65 million Americans who voted for Trump are racist, right? And that's how he's classifying. And I think really to understand this, we have to look at what the word racist means and where it came from. So do you know who coined the term racist?
No, I don't.
Okay, the guy.
Mark, you are the key of little hidden information.
The guy who coined the term racist was New York, from the Bronx, communist Khazarian mafia propagandist Lev Davidson Borenstein, a.k.a. also known as Leon Trotsky. He came up with the word.
Oh, he sounds like a good Irishman.
He came up with the word. He coined the term racist as the dog whistle labeling white Christians as non-humans. So he said, white Christians are racist. No one else can be racist except white Christians. That makes them non-humans. Now, once you classify these 40 million people as non-humans, because the New Yorker, well, Adam Schiff's grandfather was Jacob Schiff. He paid $20 million and sent 140 Bronx Khazarian mafia assassins to Russia to kill the Tsar, chopped him up and his family in little pieces when they were supposed to be doing productive custody with clubs and bayonets, and chopped them in small pieces and buried them and said, oh, well, they're in productive custody. But anyway, so that wasn't the Russian Revolution. That was the Bronx Khazarian mafia, coup. And then...
Wait a minute. Are you talking about Adam Schiff's?
His grandfather was Jacob Schiff. $20 million, and he sent 140 assassins from New York to overthrow the Tsar and start the Bolsheviks, which are also called the Chekas, which are called the Communists, called the Khazarians. They have like hundreds of...
Wait a minute. This is Adam Schiff, little Adam Schiff.
Little Adam's granddad.
Little Adam Schiff, little Shifty Schiff.
Shifty Schiff's granddad.
Okay. His granddad.
It's all in the...
What a family legacy.
It's all in the family.
Wait a minute. And why doesn't anyone ever bring that up in the mainstream media?
Well, because they always get disappeared.
Wait, what? You mean the mainstream media gets disappeared?
No, but
only the people that bring it up.
People will come up, they come like, yeah.
Wait a minute. I'd love to cross-examine Mr. Schiff on that one.
Okay, so anyway, so there's 40 million white Christians in the gulags and the Holodomor that are raped, tortured, mass murdered, and robbed, right? And which is the way the Khazarian mafia got kind of rich, because they took all the money off the dead bodies. Yeah. They also pimped out the daughters and the wives.
Of course.
And they made, in today's money, trillions, which is why you've got Soros and what is it, Goldman Sachs. That's where these guys got these money. These guys didn't make this money like selling popcorn. They made it by killing white Christians. But you can't talk about the mass murder of 40 million white Christians because they were racist, so they deserve to be mass murdered. And you can't talk about the robbery of 40 million white Christians because the white Christians are racist and it's okay to rob them. So you got to understand that these guys, they're loan sharks, pimps, dope peddlers, propagandists, and mass murderers like Goldman Sachs, Soros, Schumer, Schiff, and Facebook. They're fabulously rich and powerful. And so this is the person that Jussie Smollett works for. He's the Khazarian mafia goon, and his aunt, who's his aunt? Kamala Harris is the aunt of Jussie Smollett. Okay?
I did not know that.
Okay.
Wait a minute. No. I have never heard that report.
Okay,
anywhere.
so Aunt Harris had a bill before Congress saying that lynching should be a hate crime. Okay? And they couldn't push this through without a media event. And Smollett was at a media event with the noose around his neck that he ran all the way to the police station without taking the noose off. Like, they're lynching me, they're lynching me. And guess what? It worked. The anti-lynching hate crime thing passed in the Senate. So he was successful. So he's not going to jail. He's going to be a billionaire and taken care of because they passed.
Well, actually, on top of all of that, Michelle Obama's right-hand henchwoman, made the phone call that got him off anyway.
No, but that goes into a different thing. But I'm just saying.
But this is how he walked. Okay?
No, but I mean we'll get into that. Okay, but then the thing is, so why did this hoax come up? Because they were passing the anti-lynching bill. But why were they passing the anti-lynching bill? What's so important about dehumanizing and mass murdering white Christians and proving they're racist and doing the lynching? Why do you have to have lynching as the main racist thing on the planet? Why is that?
Well, I don't know. I would say that because it's linked to whites, and of course they're trying to, let alone the whole illegal immigration thing when they're bringing in voters. But the whole question is, if you stop the argument by creating you're racist or you're a white nationalist or you're a hate crime person, you have no ability to over-argue that. And so in reality, when you're trying to make a coherent argument about anything, they throw, if you'll notice, the word racist and white nationalists now are being bantered about as a way to end every argument that's not in tune with the socialist agenda.
Well, basically,
you know what's going on with that.
Basically, when someone says you're a racist, what they're saying is, we mass murdered, raped, and tortured 40 million white Christians. We're glad we do it. We're glad we did it, and we'll do it again. That's what racist means. And so the reason they bring in the lynching is because there was 4,000 lynchings in the United States. 2,000 black people got lynched, and 2,000 white people got lynched. But that's 4,000 people altogether got lynched, right? But let's look at...
In what time frame?
In about 200 years.
In 200 years.
Okay, but let's look at the Khazarian Mafia. Let's look at the Khazarian Mafia and the communist Khazarian Mafia like Lev Davidson Borenstein and all these Khazarians. Well, they had the Atlantic slave trade atrocity where at least 11 million black slaves died in forced marches, holding camps, and tossed overboard.
In which country?
Coming from Portugal to Brazil, coming up here to make the rum, and then back to England for the guns, and down to Africa to pick up the slaves, and then to Brazil. So 95% of the slaves went to Brazil and the Caribbean, and they died there because of malaria and one thing or another.
Yeah, because it's totally inhospitable to live.
And the people who made this money were Khazarian Mafians. They weren't white Christians. There was the Abel Caroca by Aaron Lopez and Moses Levy and Jacob Brown, Isaac Levy and Nathan Simpson, the NASA Moses Levy, the Four Sisters, Moses Levy, the Anna Alyssa, Jason Boyce and John Abrams, Jacob Phoenix, David Gomez, Martez David Gomez, you know, John DeSweets. None of these, Jacob Roosevelt, Moses and Sam Levy, David Franks, Moses and Sam Levy, none of these are white Christians. They killed, now some people, they argue they killed tens of millions, but the records are that at least 6 million black slaves had their ears cut off.
Well, I gotta tell you, we're gonna hold it right there with that whole gang renown. But I think we should move on to our next subject, because before I get into that, what is our last subject?
Well, anyway, so the whole lynching is a red herring to forget about the 11 million who died in the translation.
Well, they don't want to deal with that.
Well, that's the reason they talk about the lynchings. Because,
okay, well, let's go to our last subject.
Okay, the last thing is our
because I want to move off the lynching subject. Smollett didn't get lynched.
Okay, Mueller is here. Mueller is our buddy.
He got Megan.
And we got to understand, Mueller was the guy. Mueller is the guy who discovered the weapons of mass destruction in Iraq, and he did that dossier. And I think he also helped Comey on the Whitewater and a couple other, and I think he even maybe helped on Vince Foster.
He's been around the whole time.
He's the cleaner for the Clintons for 30, 40 years. He's been around the
Clintons for a long time.
You know, if we need a war, there he is. He's got a dossier.
Because there's a lot of money to be made in war.
Well, we're going to, you know, he's saying, oh, France is getting a nuke next week, and he's got a dossier, and then it turns out they go to Iraq. There's nothing there.
No weapons of mass destruction.
But that's still okay. He never gets in trouble for any of this stuff.
No,
right?
because he's not. He's just an investigator.
Oh, I just found the dossier.
I just found the dossier.
Yeah, right. And so he's famous for these dossiers. So what happens? He gets this dossier, which you've already done a couple shows on, that says that a hooker pissed on the bed that Obama slept in Moscow, and Trump paid her to do that, right? And that's what the dossier says, which is, so what? But anyway, that's the dossier.
But did they wash the sheets?
I don't know, but it was just saying something that, and then it said that that was going to blackmail Trump, so Trump...
Somehow blackmailed Trump.
So Trump works for Putin.
Oh, he definitely worked for Putin.
And so that was what they...
And in fact, the whole idea was Putin was going to control the country through Trump.
No, but listen to this closely. This was a thing that was written up in an article like 20 or 30 years ago, like that was written up in like Spy magazine, like a kidding around thing. They took this plot. This plot was written up in like 1987, right? And all of a sudden they're doing Stellar Wind where they're spying on Trump, right? And then they get busted on the Stellar Wind with the FISA warrant. So like, what are we going to say? Oh, we're going to say Russians involved. And they find this plot from 20 or 30 years ago, this kind of dingy plot. And then they go, well, okay, we'll run with this. And of course, CNN and all the Khazarian mafia press is like, oh yeah, let's brainwash everybody for this silly thing.
And then let's keep talking about it every day, day in, day out. Rachel Maddow.
Yeah, right. But I mean, it's just
Lemon, all the same bozos.
In the end, they get the most biased co-conspirators you could possibly have. You know, they got Strzok, and I mean, anyone's going to find something on Trump. It's going to be these guys.
Strzok said it was going to be 100 million to 0 that Hillary wins.
But I'm just saying they
didn't turn out that way.
They get a team of investigators who hate Trump.
Oh, by the way, 19 investigators that have worked for Hillary Clinton.
Yeah, but I mean,
worked for the foundation. They're all Democrat. They all hate Trump. And by the way, 19 hardcore with endless money to find something wrong.
And they couldn't find
what happened? Tell us the punchline.
Well, they couldn't find even collusion, which is not even illegal. So they couldn't even find a non-crime. But here I want to go real briefly because I think the Khazarian Mafia was behind that one too, because they got all that information from Richard Steele, who got it from the Russians. So, you know, these guys are
getting... Or the Russian oligarch.
Well, but I'm saying they got that whole story. So it's kind of like
another billionaire.
Yeah, but I'm saying the guy kind of I think behind this is the brainy Don or Uncle Seva. He's a Khazarian mafia guy, and his real name is Simeon Maglailovich.
Well, wait a minute. I didn't know I needed a speech therapist tonight.
And so anyway, but the thing is, the joke about him, or what's the thing about him is he's like the most richest, most powerful mafia guy in the world, right? And so he's a smart guy. So he hires a CPA to do his books, or 2 sets of books. But the guy's deaf and dumb, right? Or deaf and mute, right? Because he's figuring, okay, he can't rat us off if he can't talk, right? But then he thinks that his CPA is like, his accountant's like ripping him off, you know? So the brainy Don, you know, puts a gun to the CPA's head and goes, you got to tell me where you put those hundreds of millions of dollars that you embezzled. And he's got his lawyer there. But the lawyer can do sign language, and so can the accountant. And so he goes, if you don't tell me where you hid the money, I'm going to blow your brains out. And so the CPA is like sweating, you know, and he like signs like, you know, it's under the orange tree in my cousin's backyard. And the lawyer, and then, you know, the Don goes to the lawyer, goes, what did he say? What did he say? He says, you shoot me, I'll never tell you. So anyway, back to this thing. This whole thing is another Mueller fake dossier.
Oh my God!
Sleazy Russian deal with Clinton going to Russia getting $500,000, and it's all the usual players taking kickbacks and with the foundation and the lawyers who are running the Mueller investigation used to be the Clinton Foundation lawyers.
No, they were the Clinton Foundation lawyers.
I mean, it's all the same gang.
And wait a minute. Here's the part. They all contributed. Okay, if you're doing a hiring, okay, I'd like to hire you for our special investigation. First of all, what's your background? Well, I'm 20 years in the FBI, 3 years in the CIA, and what's your political affiliation? I don't think that should make a difference. But I contributed to Hillary Clinton.
No,
you're hired.
But it's not only that. These guys worked on cover-ups. They worked on the Whitewater.
God.
They worked on the Vince Foster cover-up. These guys covered up.
They've been covering up everything.
They've been covering up like 35, 36, 37 murders that were, or hunting accidents, Hillary hunting accidents.
Judge Calea.
Yeah, Calea. There's a lot of
out in the desert.
Yeah, and even the guys, the cowboys up in wherever the FBI shot. 50 guys got shot. So I mean, I forget
the Bundy up in Bundy in Nevada.
So I mean, these guys have been covering up all kinds of political assassinations for the last 30 years, and it's the same, you know, like you said,
the
cabal.
Branch Davidians.
It's the same cabal, the same group, and then they put him in charge of this investigation, and they're thinking,
we got him.
Well, what they're thinking is that
coup d'etat.
What they did is they thought that, you know, they could throw enough stuff out there so you'd lose the midterms and do the impeachment so they'd save their necks. But even by winning, but the Republicans kept the Senate, so they can't get the impeachment. So now they're all looking at the gallows.
They're all wondering, what do we do now?
Well, they're all looking at the gallows.
But wait a minute. You realize that Baker, Page, going back to Page, every Bruce Orr, all of the three, there's a bunch of little people there that are telling the truth secretly and
Trying to cut a deal.
So they don't go to prison. Because in reality, Bruce Orr, Lisa Page, even Mueller, who was told in the very beginning there's nothing there.
Well, the thing about Mueller,
you gotta pretend.
No, but look at Mueller. Mueller was told by Trump the day before he was appointed by Ronstein, another KM guy. He was told Rosenstein. He was told that you can't have a job with the FBI. He says, "No way! I don't want you hanging around the government anymore." And the next day he gets appointed.
He gets appointed, to investigate the guy that just didn't hire him.
And Rosenstein is the guy who convinced Trump to fire Comey. And that was all a setup all the way along.
Well, what's interesting about all this is that, fortunately, the Attorney General Barr now is talking about, we have Devin Nunes he's submitting 8 names of people that should be sent in for investigation and obviously prosecution. Barr said that this whole thing it looks like everyone's been spied on, and he said, is there a predicate to even get there? And there's no predicate, because if there was a predicate, Mueller would have said there's a predicate. Now, the whole report's the redacted report's supposed to be released on Tuesday, which will give us a basic idea. But that's not the point. The point is the whole jig is up.
Well,
because
not really,
all of these guys.
Yeah, but you got to look at the full court press. The KM, the Gazzatti Mafia, has now bought Fox, so the last media thing is gone, right? They bought Disney, so used to be family.
Yeah.
Trust me, Disney's not family anymore.
No.
I don't want to say anything one way or another, but if I had kids, I wouldn't watch them. Disney. And then Facebook, you're locked out if you say anything against the KM on Facebook. So what they're doing is a complete media lockdown.
Well, I think we're going to have to hold it there, Mark. And I will tell you that it's been another fantastic evening with Law Talk. Mark, thank you very much. These are exciting topics, but next time warn me if I need a speech therapist for the long line of names that I couldn't pronounce even if I was looking at them on cue cards.
You mean Simeon Mogilevich?
That's a good example.
Okay, like I said. Go ahead and shoot me. I'll never tell you where the money is.
Go ahead, shoot me. I can't pronounce that name. Nor will I even try. No, but anyway, Mark, it's a really exciting time for people to pay attention to politics, the news, the law, and the Constitution, because all are up for grabs under the prior regime. And right now, we're trying to unravel the nightmare.
Well, I think that the